Welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. I am Midnight and I'm here with Mythic
Hello.
and Darkness.
Hello.
You sound so sad.
I'm
Because
being held hostage.
because
You're
he
not.
had to read a
I'm
whole
not
book.
sad.
Gosh. So this is
Oof.
episode 2 of The Well of Ascension. We have read chapters 7 through 12.
Mhm.
6 chapters this week. Mostly because 2 of them were very short. So chapter 7's epigraph we'll go straight into is I am also afraid, however, that all I have known, that my story will be forgotten. I am afraid for the world that is to come, afraid my plans will fail, afraid of a doom even worse than the deepness. So what do you think could be worse than the deepness?
Corruption. A god that is going to destroy the world. Yeah.
No, the
Uh,
fullness.
The
Oh,
fullness.
that's funny. I like that one actually better. Alright, I'm changing my answer to that. Fullness.
Total annihilation. Like, straight up.
Mm.
Maybe we're getting this wrong and we don't even know what the deepness is at all. Like, no sort of hint.
We don't know what the deepness is. We've literally gotten no real information.
Well, we think it's like mist-based.
So yeah, I think it's fucking mist based or something.
Yeah, like, what if it's not? What if it's like completely unrelated to that?
What if the mist is what's like stopped the deepness? You know. I don't know.
Anyway,
It's done.
So we have Say's point of view for this chapter as he's teaching some young Ska to write. He's been going around to rural Ska for the past year and was still surprised by their meager resources. He notes that they have little besides farming tools and that most of the children run around naked. Ska also live in a hovel, which is just one large room. Sayes has tried to get them
We
to
have
live in
that in
Lord's
real
bed.
life. Why can't we have that in our life? People just be okay with children running around naked and not make a fucking big scene
I think
about
in
it.
some places people are okay with that. Like I think in some
Like,
cultures
that's
it's pretty
true.
normal.
Like, first off, children are going to do that shit anyways.
Honestly,
you
yeah,
can't stop children from doing that.
No, kids will do that. Like that's just a thing kids do. I
Midnight does it
think
all the time.
mainly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Midnight looks like a child, so
Wow, I do not run around naked.
only because it's not socially acceptable.
No, I wouldn't do it even if it was socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe probably like I think it's more common in like more tropical areas for kids to run around like naked because like you don't have to worry about like them getting so cold that they're gonna freeze to death if they do that.
Well, nobody here in Florida does that. So. Hell, you get in trouble if your children are outside running around naked. So.
Sage has tried to get them to live in the Lord's abandoned manor, but they seemed wary of it, and Sage believes it's because they associate it with the Lord and with pain. There were also unfortunately not. Sorry, there was unfortunately also not much left in the manor. So what do you think about how these rural Ska have been living?
I mean, still better than what they were before. So.
Yeah, it's definitely better than they were before. It's just they're still not living great lives at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not slaves anymore.
To be fair, it is
slaves to their own, I guess.
Yeah, it is a new system. So
Gotta work its kinks out, you know.
Mm-hmm. So the Ska had given him some students mostly to appease him, and he notes that the children don't really seem interested in learning, but they do it because they're told to. Before the collapse, he had thought that once the Lord Ruler was gone, people would be eager for the knowledge of the Keepers, but the Ska seemed more annoyed with him than thankful. However, he feels like this is his hubris and that he should be patient and not expect praise. Sayes does note that they seem like they're learning to recognize letters, though, which is good. He eventually lets them go to help prepare dinner. As Sayes strolls through the hills, he notes that he had kept his earrings in V-shaped robes, as they felt familiar, and he wonders what the terrace of the future will be like. What do you think terrace of the future will be like?
There will be no terrace of the future.
Yeah, they all get culled and,
oh, damn.
treated. No terrace of the future ever again.
Damn. So Sayes thinks about how the role of keepers was no longer to investigate but to teach what they had learned. He feels like there is still something to find, but wonders if that is just his rebellious nature. Compared to the other terrace, he is a disobedient wild man who had gone off to join the rebellion. His brethren still hadn't forgiven him for that, even though the rebellion had been successful. So why do you think Say's brethren refused to forgive him for joining the rebellion, even though they were freed because of it?
Because it seemed like he stood up for something, you know. He's becoming a rebel.
I always have such a hard time picturing Sage as like this rebellious guy. He's like, oh, I'm such a rebel compared to the other terrorists. It's like, Sage is like the calmest, most rational dude.
But he's still a rebel.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Yeah, not a phase one. Exactly.
No, but like, I feel like it's sort of the situation like with the Scott where they didn't really want to, rise up because they were already terrified and like put down all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So like, seeing someone do that is like, why the fuck, you know? Also, maybe I was also thinking maybe it could be like more that he's a keeper,
More so than
than
just being
a
a normal
chaos
terraceman.
person. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that was
Because I
definitely
feel
part
like
of it.
I feel like if you're a keeper, you don't really try to get involved. You try to take notice of things instead.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Y-
Just be a scribe to the world.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think he mentions in book one that like because there's so few keepers, they're like you're putting like so much in risk because like we don't have a lot of us. We need to keep this knowledge going. So a stout middle-aged woman then cries out for Sazed, telling him the Lord Ruler was back. However, instead of the
So I
Lord
thought
Ruler,
that was funny as fuck.
yeah, instead of the Lord Ruler being there, it was an Inquisitor. Sazed
Oh,
greets.
huh.
She's like, it's the Lord Ruler. It's like that looks nothing like the Lord Ruler, ma'am.
Like at all. Like I don't think you've ever seen the Lord Ruler before.
Yeah, she probably has it. She lives out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So Sazed greets Marsh, who says Sazed needs to come with him. His voice had become more like the other Inquisitors, grating and grinding like he had a cough. Marsh tells Sazed that the Conventicle of Saran is empty, which is a stronghold of the Ministry where Inquisitors and high-ranking obligators had gone after the collapse. Sazed also notes that Marsh doesn't use body or facial language when speaking, and Marsh tells Sazed he may need help if his brethren discover them, and Sazed wonders why Marsh is calling the other Inquisitors his brethren. So, what do you think
Uh-huh.
of that?
I think whatever uh, whatever he happened like to turn him into that
Mm-hmm.
is slowly making like its way into his mind, kind of idea, and
Mm.
he's becoming less who he was before. Mainly because like they all seem like they had their personalities, but they didn't seem to have like a I don't know a distinctive personality except the one.
Yeah, they all had
They
like
all,
slight differences in personality, but they were mainly very similar.
mm-hmm. Except for the one guy, in my opinion, because he definitely seemed to have like dreams and fucking aspirations. I'm gonna be the leader of this shit.
Well, it sounded like all the Inquisitors for a long time had been working to like overthrow the Obligators as like the
Yeah,
head of
but
the
that dude
Ministry.
stepped up.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. He definitely stepped up to try to
Yeah, and then there was the one Inquisitor that was arguing with all the others that Vin was like the daughter of like someone high ranking in the Obligators.
I
They're
thought
like,
I
oh, we
thought it
don't believe
was
him.
was it? Oh, it was. I thought it was,
It
no.
was
I
the
thought
one
it
who
was.
Kelsier killed.
Yeah, but I thought it was. I didn't think it was Vin. I thought it was her brother. And he was trying to convince them all that
No, it was Vin.
It was
was it
Vin.
Vin? I
Yeah.
swore they said it was Rin
Well, she was
or whatever.
standing right there.
Yeah, no,
No, but I meant like I thought.
he had gotten to Reen to get to Vin. They had tried to get
Yeah.
the dad out of Reen, I believe.
Okay. I thought it was. I thought that's what he was saying. That he was working. He was working that angle because of this other dude who he thought was right, and he couldn't prove it because Reen wouldn't, talk.
Yeah, Reen wouldn't talk about Vin, about who's Vin's dad was.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. Yeah, okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense then.
because Reen and Vin are only half siblings. Reen's dad is not the same as Vin's.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Sazed continues to hesitate, but then Marsh says that the mist comes during the day. Marsh says things are only just beginning, that the Lord Ruler was only a delay, and that they must explore the conventicle while they have the chance. Sazed says he'll go tell the villagers and that he can leave that night. So why do you think Marsh decided to come to Sazed to go with him to the conventicle?
There's supposed to be something deeper than that? Because
I
I
mean,
kind of just think like,
he could
okay.
have gone by himself. Like, why do you think he decided to ask Sazed to come with him?
Because Sazed is a good therapist. He's certified. No, but like, maybe because of his, like, I'm just say scribing skills.
Mm-hmm.
He's
What
a
do you
good
think?
secretary.
I think. I feel like it's going to be more of the fact that like it's something that only Says can do. Like he can read something, like he's got all this knowledge or something. Like there's like
Like
a.
that big ass, you know?
I feel like there's going to be a riddle or something like a like a open sesame door, but he can't figure out what it is, so he thinks Says can. Because Says has so much knowledge.
Yeah, so you think he's
And
like...
this is where I think God damn it, I can't remember his name now. My favorite character, I can't even remember his name.
Spook?
Rashad?
Spook. This is where I think Spook's gonna come in handy.
Mm.
It's gonna be like written in whatever the fuck the shit is.
Easter shoots.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to be like, oh, we gotta go get spooked now.
So you think
Every
whatever?
time he
Sorry. Go ahead,
every time
Jonas.
he speaks like that, he gets replaced with Yoda in my mind.
Oh my gosh. So I was gonna say though, so Mythic, you kind of think that like whatever Marsha's looking for, he thinks he might need Saze to like help him with, based on
Yes.
Saze's knowledge as a keeper. Okay. So that was chapter 7. Chapter 8 was one of our short chapters. The 2 of the 3 of the Saze chapters are pretty short.
Two of
But yeah.
the three of the says, damn. I don't know how you didn't. I would have struggled saying that.
Oh really?
To our
I
short
struggle with so
chapters,
many
it
other
says.
easier things, and I don't struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so chapter 8, the epigraph. It all comes back to poor Alendi. I feel bad for him, for everything he has been forced to endure, for what he has been forced to become. So do you also feel bad for Alendi being forced into this and then he ended up getting killed?
I don't
No,
think he's dead.
You still don't think
I
he's
think
dead?
No,
I think he's in prison.
Hmm. Do you feel bad
he's
though
in
that he got
prison.
forced into all of this
No,
hero
not at
Veja
all.
stuff?
Nope, not at all. Because Vin's gonna also have to go through that, and then I have to feel bad for Vin. So I don't feel bad for Vin either.
I do feel bad. I'm emotionally attached to him for no fucking reason.
Are you emotionally
I
attached to Vin too?
Nah, I don't
Okay, good.
understand.
Good, because I'm
I
hoping
don't
she dies.
understand. I don't understand why though. Like I'm like,
I also really just liked Alendi. Alendi, I just feel bad for this guy. I'm like, dude,
yeah.
Alendi get asked for this bullshit. He just was like a
mm,
blacksmith or something in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, sometimes you don't ask for the archers at your back,
What if he's trapped in the mist?
What if he's
oh,
trapped in the mist?
and that's why he's killing everybody, right?
You think he's like the
Let
mist
me
shadow
out!
thing?
Let me out!
Yeah. That's when he
Uh,
appeared to Ben. He was like, "You are my legacy."
so then who was the mist shadow that appeared in his journal? Was it like the a
The
previous
one,
hero of
the
ages?
previous hero ages,
It's
yes.
just
Yeah,
it's a
it's like a
cycle.
yeah.
Hmm.
Every X number of however many years, there's a new hero of ages.
I mean,
Mm.
that's how it seems to work. So
What if it's just a battle in the mist, bro? It's
matter could not be destroyed. So
it's a Lundy versus the fucking deepness, and they're just fighting in the mist, and nobody knows that because it's the mist, you know.
Fighting forever. Damn, that would be rough. So we start this chapter with Vin jumping through Luthadel at night. She eventually falls to the ground at Keep Venture. She then sees Oriser nearby and jumps over to him. Finn notes that the wolfhound's body is faster. Finn then suggests seeing how good he is at following her and says if he loses her, he'll meet back at Keep Venture. As she jumps away from Oriser, she thinks that Ellen doesn't understand that Oriser won't be able to keep up, and she'll have to tell him it could put her in more danger to keep him close. But then Oriser gets up onto the rooftop she had stopped on, surprising Vin. Oriser states that he can be helpful, and Vin feels bad for a moment before remembering that he ate Kelsier. So what do you think about Vin's conflicting feelings on
I
Oriser?
think she's dumb. I'm sorry,
agree.
but like,
I agree.
why are you prioritizing your like ideologies when you're literally about to go to war?
Also without any ATM.
Exactly. Like you get all the help you can get, you know?
So as Vin jumps away from Oriser again, she thinks about how her worries have changed from food and safety to the worries of keeping an entire people safe. She worries about Strath Venture, as Ellen had told her quite a bit about him. Oriser then meets up with her again, and Vin wonders about the Watcher, Duralumin, and Malatium, which is the name of the 11th metal. Uh, apparently Sazed, although saying he was going about his keeper duties, had ended up heading towards where Kelsier had gotten the 11th metal. Then the Watcher appears. Dun dun dun! I don't know why I decided to do that. Now I feel stupid. Anyway.
It should have been the Pokemon battle song. You know the intro to the battle, it goes like
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think I could do that well. So Vin quickly goes after him, whispering to Oriser to try and follow her. As she struggles to follow the Watcher, she feels a stab of guilt for Oriser as she had made him try to follow her like this. And eventually they end up at a square with a large fountain, and Vin dodges coins thrown by the Watcher. Vin jumps onto the fountain as well, and goes at the Watcher with dagger. He avoids her and gets out his own daggers as well. After a few attacks with the daggers, the Watcher loses Vin in the streets. Vin glances around for a moment before burning bronze and piercing the Watcher's copper cloud, finding him in a
Wait, she
building.
burned her bra?
No, her bronze. She finds him in a building close by. However, she doesn't want to give away her secret ability. Instead, she decides to try the Duralumin and is suddenly assaulted by exploding sound, light, and frigid cold. The Duralumin causes her tin to burn in a burst of intense power and then be depleted completely. So, what did you think about the power of Duralumin?
I was right.
So
That's all I could think of.
I I knew it was an enhancement when like it happened, obviously. Like,
Mm.
oh, that's what it does. But the side effects of losing that whole like stash of metal in one fucking burst is insane to me because like that's gonna I'm scared she's gonna get used to it and then she's not gonna have enough metal for when she needs it.
Mm.
But then again, it's Vin, so she could just like swallow the mystic or some shit.
So Oriser then comes up to her asking if she needs help. Vin says she doesn't, and then Oriser brings her her belt with her vials of metal, which she thanks him for and thinks that it's more than he had ever done for her before. Suddenly the Watcher drops beside her, and she finds that he looks familiar for some reason. He has a lean face and dark hair. He tells her that he's an enemy, and when asked about helping her with the assassins, he says he is insane. He then asks why she plays their games, and Vin says it isn't a game when the people she loves are in danger. The Watcher seems disappointed and leaves. So why do you think the Watcher looks familiar, and what do you think about him?
So this might sound crazy,
Okay.
but I'm starting to go on the line that maybe Kelsey isn't fully dead.
That's what I thought too.
Only because only because everyone's like that bitch is crazy, and he comes up with like I'm insane. I was just like
Why would he say
okay,
he's her enemy, though?
Because he doesn't
because
want him to know or her to know.
yeah, or like he's maybe training her even more.
Hmm.
That's sort of I am your enemy, so keep up
He just
nasty
dyed it. It's Kelsier, but he
type
just
of
dyed
shit.
his hair. That's all. Did you have any other
Um,
thoughts, Mythic, or you said you kind of had the same thought?
I mean, it's the same thought. I think it's Kelsier, but I don't know
Oh,
how because the
he was eaten.
little but maybe something happened where he can be here. I guess I don't know.
He
Maybe
actually has
maybe
a
the
secret
gods that I
third
want
brother.
to exist,
Yeah,
or
he has a secret
it's
other
not.
brother.
I mean, it's been confirmed that Reen died.
Reed, yeah.
So whatever. Reen died. So like, I can't really have been him. Kelsier also kind of confirmed to be dead. So I mean, I can't really say for 100% certainty, but I mean, it definitely doesn't seem like her enemy. It seems like he's trying to make her stronger for some reason.
Yeah, he's being very conflicting.
Mm-hmm.
So once he's gone, Oriser notes that Vin seems to have respect for the Watcher and seems disgusted by this. Vin then notes that she should get Oriser a harness so he can carry more vials for her, and he says that isn't necessary and shows that his skin can split apart, and Vin is able to place the vial of metals inside his shoulder. He then says he'll deliver that to her in an emergency, and Vin suggests going back to the palace to check on Elend. So what did you think about Oriser's skin pocket?
I thought it was cool. That's very useful.
Very useful for sure.
You know, I I don't know if you guys are gonna think this is weird, but I kind of thought
But
that like
it's okay, darkness. I think you're weird, anyways.
I thought this was a possibility.
Did you?
What?
Yeah,
He
I
could just open his skin and put it inside.
yeah, and it's well, what other options would he have? I
Uh,
feel like
a
I feel like
pouch.
having yeah, but I feel like having like a pouch or a harness with like vials and stuff is a little inconvenient.
Just
I
get a
think
whole
this.
bunch of
I
skin
think.
pockets and fill them up with some vials.
I feel like this man is inconvenient as it is.
Mercer?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
Darkness's sad tone there.
no, he
No,
can't
he's a good
be.
doggo.
He's a good doggo.
Even though he doesn't want to be a doggo.
Okay, but he's a good doggo now, with
Mhm.
plenty of pockets to spare.
Oh God.
I want to just imagine him because he sits
I
back
don't
like.
want to imagine it at all.
No, I was gonna say I want to imagine him like sitting back on his haunches and like when she thanks him like forcing himself not to wag his tail.
Yeah,
It's
I was I was also wondering how many vials do you think he could put in his body?
Uh,
yeah, I don't know.
a lot,
Like,
I'm sure.
I want to imagine him like just like lines of pockets, just all over his fucking body, like to the point where like he's bumpy.
Oh gosh. All right. So that was chapter 8. We're on to chapter 9, which is also a very short chapter. So the epigraph is, "But let me begin at the beginning. I met Alendi first in Colenium. He was a young lad then, and had not yet been warped by a decade spent leading armies." So what do you think about Alendi having to spend a decade leading armies, and how do you think this relates to him trying to defeat the Deepness?
How old is Lindy? The fuck?
Well, I mean,
Um,
let's look at it this way, right? If we're right, and the whole thing is he got what was the guy's name now? Fuck. What was the guy who I fucking kept saying his name and I just can't remember it now. Like who ended up actually being the Lord Ruler?
Rashek?
Respect.
Yeah, Rashek. Like if Rashek was thousands of years old, I feel like Alendi could have also been thousands of years old.
Well, Rashek was
But
pretty much exactly, well, he was like 1,000 plus however old he was when he killed Alendi, because they said he'd been leading for almost exactly 1,000 years. Like, I think
Yeah. So
this book takes place in what, like 1021 or something like that? Yeah, 1021 is the year
wait,
right now, and
wait,
the
it was like
year
a year.
zero was
It
the
was like
year he
it
ascended.
was wait, it was 1,000 years.
Yeah, he ruled for a
yeah,
thousand years
What? No. I mean, like it was 1,000 years ago.
when he ascended. Yes.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so why don't we have Allomancy?
right.
Oh, oh, I see what you mean.
Mhm.
Because all the
Hey, where's my
Allomancers died
Allomancy?
out. That's why we don't
And
have
that's because we're all Scott. You know,
I
we can hear
was. I mean,
better.
that's better. That's better. That's a better answer than I thought she was going to give. I definitely thought she was going to be more vague and be like, "I can't tell you."
No, it's because all the Allomancers died out. Because you need to remember Allomancers within recent ancestry to have Allomancy.
You see, this is why incest is a good. No,
Oh
Oh
my
my
god!
god.
Why would you even
That's
it's a
say
what the
joke.
that?
British royalty thought. Oh my gosh, the British royalty are secretly Allomancers.
Oh, don't. No, my God, Midnight.
Anyways,
I mean, secretly, I don't know about that.
that's how the Queen lived so long.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So wait, did Vin come in and kill her then? Is that what happened?
Oh,
Possibly.
okay.
Anyway,
Um,
so my question was, why do you think Galendi had spent a decade leading armies, and how do you think it relates to him trying to defeat the Deepness?
The Deepness also lives for a long time, so he had to live for a long time too.
I mean, it's not talking about how long he lived for. It's
Nope.
he's
But
okay.
can you repeat, like, not the question, but the little paragraph thing?
The epigraph, yeah.
Yeah.
So it says, "But let me begin at the beginning. I met Alendi first in Colenium. He was a young lad then, and had not yet been warped by a decade spent leading armies."
Hmm. Maybe it's yeah. Maybe it is him like fighting against the freaking deepness or whatever.
So you think like he tried to like lead armies to defeat the Deepness first?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I mean, it's like, why the fuck would he fight a bunch of sick people? No, you know what it is. Just tell us.
Can't tell you.
I mean, she could, but she just doesn't want to.
Spoilers! Spoilers!
So, spoilers are fun
You
sometimes.
already spoiled to us some stuff, right?
Yeah, I know. You
No, I
spoil stuff
didn't!
all the time. Yes, you
I've,
did.
Psst, I've
The
spoiled
board
nothing.
game.
You spoiled the fact that Electrum is actually a metal, even though
Look,
it
I
wasn't
thought,
the 11th metal.
I thought that Melatium was electric.
Spoiler. Spoiler.
So we switch to Say's point of view as he studies Marsh. He notes that Marsh seems harder than before and always seems to be staring at something that Say's couldn't see. He also notes that Marsh's old nickname, Iron Eyes, had ended up being strangely prophetic, and apparently some of the others had been discomforted by Marsh's transformed state, and even though Marsh hadn't seemed to mind, Say's had done his best to continue a friendly relationship with him. He isn't sure if Marsh appreciates his friendship, but Marsh had come to him after all. So what do you think about the others kind of acting uncomfortable around Marsh now that he's an Inquisitor?
I mean, he's a weird sight to see, I'm sure.
Do you think that makes Marsh sad?
I don't think Marsh can be sad anymore. He has no tear ducts.
He cries. He cries steel.
I
Just
don't
like
think he cries at all.
droplets of like metal. Hey, you know what I thought was interesting? What if they put ATM into the spikes instead? And then whenever it's like a credit card, and whenever he needs to buy something, he just like shaves something off from the spike.
Interesting.
You see, I shouldn't even be thinking of this.
There's like an Inquisitor with a gambling problem, and you just see like these like spikes barely hanging in his eyes because they're so shaved away.
Yeah, like one of them is like bigger than the other.
Oh god. So Marsh then notes that Say's should be in Luthadel as he is needed there. Sazed states that the final empire needs him, but Marsh asks about Sazed's friends, which causes Sazed to pause. Sazed states he has sent help, but Marsh says it isn't good enough and that Sazed will return after their mission. Sazed doesn't argue any further, knowing he will return to Luthadel and hopes nothing happens and he can just selfishly be with his friends. So first of all, what sort of help do you think that Sazed sent?
Sazed can send help.
Apparently he sent help.
I feel like whoever they are, they're not that good of help. No.
He sent help for what? Kind of zoned out.
Well,
Did you not read the chapter?
I did.
I mean, I think he sent help to can't think of their names now. The Watchers or whatever. No, not the Watchers. The
Watchers.
His little group of fucking people. What the fuck?
The Keepers.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, it wasn't that far off. What are you talking about?
He does note though that the Keepers are still up north, because at the end of the final chapter here, he says like, "Oh, I should be bringing this up north, but maybe I'll just send word from Luthadel instead."
Mm-hmm.
My other question is, why do you think Marsh is so insistent that Sazed go back to Luthadel?
Oh, I felt like he was hiding something, bro. He knew. And like when they marched in there, and like they were going up to that. Well, he was going up to that room or whatever. I was like,
Yeah, we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mythic? Why is Marsh so insistent that Sazed go back to Luthadel?
I kind of agree. He's hiding something. So
I don't even feel like that's Marsh anymore, to be honest.
who do you think it is then?
Not Marsh.
It's a great. Okay.
So chapter.
The misting once known as Marsh.
It's the anti-Marsh.
The anti-Marsh.
He did He did the whole Prince thing,
So chapter 10's epigraph is, Alendi's height struck me the first time I saw him. Here was a man who towered over others, a man who, despite his youth and his humble clothing, demanded respect. So what did you think about that description of Alendi?
I'm gonna just say my first thoughts. I was like, do you think he's single?
I think it sounds like he apparently had multiple, like he had many wives throughout his life, but he was single at the end.
What's one more, I still want to know how old he is, bro. That's just.
Holy shit! He's gonna be a fucking ancient ass man.
Oh yeah, by now, yeah.
I'm assuming he was at least in his 30s, if not a bit older.
Oh, that's fine.
Wait, he had multiple wives and he was only 30?
I don't know how long they lasted.
They probably got killed right after.
It sounds like Juan met him when he says young lad, so I'm assuming he's like a teenager. And then
or maybe he just looks young.
I don't know, he calls him a young lad.
He's really thousands of years old.
Then he apparently spends a decade fighting, which he may have had wives during that time. And then we don't know how long between the fighting and him going up to the Well of Ascension was.
Well, I don't think
where he got his youth back,
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Well of Youth, right?
No.
To ascend to your age,
No, it's down in the south.
I always thought it was in Mexico.
Did you have anything else you were going to say there, Darkness?
I blanked. I forgot.
Okay. So we start this chapter with Vin's point of view as she goes to the Assembly Hall, which is in the Steel Ministry's Canton of Finance. Vin had convinced Ellen to allow her to have bodyguards at both the front and back of the Assembly Hall, including herself. Unfortunately, going to her seat meant walking across the stage, and thus people stared at her. There was gossip about her and Ellen's relationship, about how much influence Vin may have over Ellen, and also if she had really slain the Lord Ruler. So what do you think about all these thoughts of the people about Vin?
I mean, they're expected, considering everything they went through, so...
Don't be a cunt and you won't get these shit,
Oh, man.
I mean, granted, later when she makes the comment about how, all these people come to me and they say how wonderful I am for killing the Lord Ruler, but that one person right there never said anything to me. I was like, bitch, you glory whore, Jesus Christ.
We'll get there.
Oh, she didn't come over to you and say how great you are. Oh, I mean, granted, knowing it from a story perspective, I'm sure that bitch has some fucking shit. But and I have a theory on it from the later chapter after that. But still, we can keep going.
What were you gonna say there, Darkness?
No, I was just like, theory.
Yeah, it'll be when it comes up later because it does come.
So Ham greets Finn as she sits down by patting her on the shoulder, and she forces herself to not jump. Although she loves Ham, she finds it difficult to accept casual touches. She then notices...
she loves Ham?
She then notices Ellen speaking to Lord Penrod, who is one of the noblemen in the assembly. Ham and Vin then note that there are more people coming to watch today than normal due to the tensions with the army being around. Vin briefly discusses with Ham about how she feels Ellen allows the assembly too much sway over him, that he could run things fairly without the assembly, but Ham seems in favor of the assembly. The discussion then dies off. Vin surveys the crowd until Ellen starts the meeting. He makes his plea to the assembly that they need to vote to gather more information before making a rash choice of either going to war or surrendering to Strathventure. Vin notes that there are obligators in the audience, but they don't seem to mind the negative light that Ellen puts them in during his speech. So what do you think of Ellen allowing the obligators to still be around in Luthadel?
I think it's a good power play move, you know? um, honestly, I don't really care because, like, I mean, if he wants to, like, set up a, like, how do I say it? A more accepting city, I guess. You know, I don't think sending them to dungeons and shit would do anything.
I mean, I was thinking more just like casting them out of the city, but.
Oh, yeah, totally. I wasn't thinking about torture or anything, yeah.
I'm sure you weren't, Darkness. What do you think, Mythic?
Torture them all, kill them all.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, I think it's a good move because they are,
Yeah.
you know, they are they were there before, and like they could possibly be allies to you. I mean, but they could also be a detriment. So
Yeah.
But I feel like he's trying to go down the ally route, hoping that for the best.
Mm-hmm.
I fear for him though,
I just hope he's planning for the worst.
Yeah, because he seems to be opening a lot of doors and forgetting to lock them behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I had that problem earlier with my car.
Anyway.
So when his speech is over, the assembly begins speaking, none seeming to agree with each other. Ellen tries again to let him speak to his father, but again they argue. Eventually Ellen says they should vote, and Penrod, who seems to have a lot of respect among the others, eventually states that he agrees with Ellen's proposal. Finn notes that the assembly members respect Penrod more than they do Ellen. They vote and the proposal goes through. So, do you think the fact that Penrod gets more respect than Ellen is going to be a problem?
Yes. 100%.
As soon as I saw like him speak and everything, I was like, I don't like this bitch at all.
You don't like Lord Penrod?
I do not.
I mean, I like his name. It's pretty funny. He's got a rod that looks like a pen,
Okay.
Small and skinny.
Okay.
So after the meeting is over, Finn goes to Ellen, who is thanking Lord Penrod for agreeing with him. However, Penrod just says he wants the nobles to have time to negotiate with Strathventure. Once Finn is able to approach, she mentions a terrace woman to Ellen that she doesn't recognize. Ellen asks why that is weird, and Finn explains that every other terrace person has come to thank her because they see her as the one who freed them from the Lord Ruler, and this one had not. So what are your thoughts on this random terrace woman who was watching Ellen?
Again, I have a later idea. I came later with chapters, so
Yeah, that's fine if you want to sit on that.
At this current moment, I thought, okay, it's weird, but I also thought, well, fucking Vin, you have this fucking complex that everybody's got to come say how great you are. Fuck you, Vin.
What do you think, Darkness?
It says, but in women clothing. No, but like I don't know. I knew she was a key to something, considering that she got pointed out.
Exactly.
But
in a book, you don't get pointed out unless you're something.
yeah, and I'm just like, okay, what could she have? And I couldn't think of anything else. And okay, you know what? I'll just wait. She's bound to do something eventually.
So Ellen then tells Finn that
unless she dies and unless she is ejected from a body.
Oh gosh.
What if she's a seer or whatever, and she's like coming to Vin like, oh my god, you're the chosen one or whatever.
But she didn't though. She didn't come up to her and say anything. She was
in public,
more interested. She was more interested in Ellen though. She seemed more interested in Ellen.
I see where you're going with it though.
Do you know what my thought is here?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see when we get to it.
Yeah. So Ellen tells Finn she is gorgeous to distract her, which causes her to relax, and then tells her that she's paranoid. And
She
then,
is.
yeah, and then one of Club's messengers begin to approach. When they reach Ellen and Vin, they tell them that a second army has arrived. So before you had read the next chapter, what were your first thoughts when you heard that there was a second army?
Oh my god, they're gonna help.
What were those things called that we met? We've learned about in the
Kolos?
yeah.
I,
That,
in
I
my
thought it was gonna be an army of those things.
in my head, I've been calling them Kakarots, like the Pokemon.
Kakarots. Kakarot.
No.
That was chapter 10. Chapter 11's epigraph.
You know, for a second, I did think about that, but the amount of numbers that were involved, I was like, you know what? It can't be.
Why not? I mean, what if I had an army of them things? Not
That's
sure what they
scary.
do. Not sure
Don't
what they
say
do.
that,
But I mean, like, have an entire army of like that shit.
because then they're all fucked, and we don't even know what they do, but we know they're powerful, right?
Hmm. I mean, I have a theory on that because there are now two armies here. I was like, because I'm hoping that like some supernatural creatures come over here and just slaughter the rest of the army. They're just like, oh, we're gonna come in here now and we're gonna take the fucking city
So
because he's holding like, oh, sorry, because the Lord Ruler said he was they had no idea what they've done. You know, like it seemed like, oh, maybe you're like you've been holding somebody back at, you know, and now that you're not here, they're gonna see it as weak, which honestly is kind of what the other two armies see it as too. So go on, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. You were still going on about that. I was gonna move on because I thought you guys were done. So chapter
Nothing. Go on.
so chapter 11's epigraph says it was Alendi's simple ingenuousness. Ingenuousness. That's the word I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That first led me to befriend him. I enjoyed him as an assistant during his first months in the Grand City. So I didn't really have much of a question.
City.
Yeah, I think that's Kalenium, like the capital of Kalenium. I didn't really have much to say with this epigraph. Some of these epigraphs are like really just short and don't have much on
Yeah,
them.
I noticed
And I was
that. I was
like,
like, okay.
I was kind of just like, what do you? So my question here was, what do you think about Quan rambling on this random metal slab? He's just kind of
Honestly, like, I don't understand what some of these were like. What was the point? You know?
right? Like
Like,
I think he says at one point, like, "Oh, I need to get like the details out and stuff," and then it's just like, "Yeah, but you're rambling about like, what's the point of saying at the beginning, Alendi was like this?" It's like just get like bullet points, just like bullet point it or something.
it's the fact that he's doing it in steel too, which is like, oh yeah, let me just flip the page over, trying to like that.
I mean, we find out at fucking chapter 12 that apparently it's like tiny, cramped handwriting on like this giant, like 5x5 foot, like piece of metal, and he's like somehow cramming like all this shit in it. And it's like, how the fuck, dude? I just want to imagine, like, when we get to like the end of the epigraphs, he's kind of like doing less ramblings. He's realizing how little room he has left on it.
You see, y'all gonna think I'm even more dumb than I am, but when when I when he said uh I'm writing these words in steel or whatever, right? In metal. Uh I thought he was getting like, you know, the like magnets for the refrigerators?
Oh my gosh.
Like he was like just putting
he's
like
carving letters into a giant steel plate.
Yeah, I realized that this chapter.
Oh my gosh, you mean next chapter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was just like he was just like sticking like metal like letters to the thing.
Anyways, do you have any thoughts on this epigraph, Mythic?
Nope, not really.
Yeah, there's there really wasn't much to say about that one. So we start this chapter with Ellen's point of view as he studies the second army from atop the city wall. Klebs mentions that they fly Set's banner, the man who sent 8 Allomancers to kill him 2 days ago. Apparently they missed the approach because they came from the same direction as Straff, which obscured their view, although Straff likely knew of the second army days ago. Vin, who had Orisar next to her, notes that Straff has a perimeter of soldiers between the two armies, so they likely aren't working together. They discuss a bit how the armies seem evenly matched, with Straff possibly being a bit stronger. Then they see someone on horseback leaving Set's army and heading towards Luthadel. Vin shouts out that it's Breeze being chased by archers on horseback, and Clubs shouts to send riders off to help. So were you surprised to see Breeze back, suddenly running away
Yes.
from the second army?
I thought it was cool, bro. I was like, I'm pretty sure I said something about him like going to other fucking cities.
Honestly, yeah, I honestly didn't think it was like he was cool, but I definitely thought what Vin does is fucking insane.
Oh, Vin's super badass here.
I was just like, I'm like sitting here listening to the podcast, the Audible thing, and I'm like, they're like, oh, we'll send messengers out or whatever, we'll send people out there to go get him, and I'm like, they're not going to be fast enough, and then immediately I hear her pretty much thinking the same thing, and
Yeah,
I'm
she's
like,
like, they're not
all
going
right,
to be
Vin,
fast enough.
and she's like, all right, Vin, you got to go, and then she's like, I couldn't even run that fast, and I was like, sure you can, just use the goddamn metal.
Mythic and Vin are one person.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was funny, Loki. Just thinking about Breeze, like horseback riding, just fucking like, trying to get away. And I was excited because I was like, I knew this bitch was infiltrating and shit, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the best thing for him, to be honest.
Yeah, but at this point, like, I reached two conclusions without reading ahead or anything. I reached two conclusions. It was either he got, like, a little pissy and, like, petty and decided to join a different force, which very low chance, right?
No.
But but it was still there, so I was like, he better not be charging in with like the whole fucking army or some shit. I think no.
I know their weak points.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, there's like people after them from the same army, so like he did something to them. And I was wondering if like at some point I was getting so sleepy there though. I was like, okay, what if like he pissed them off so much that they just took an army after him and he brought them there, you know? But yeah. I settled with he infiltrated and so.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Vin then wonders if she can help, and Ellen says it's too far even for her. Vin then just smiles and leaps. We switch to Vin's point of view as she gets to the top of the tower. Sorry, did you say?
I said sure. Yeah, I said sure it is. Too far.
So she gets to the top of the tower and uses Duralumin while burning steel and pewter. She flies off in a powerful burst right towards Breeze and the archers. With her metal reserves gone, Vin quickly drinks one of her vials, and she throws in a coin to help halt her plummet and burns Peter as she crashes to the ground. She then pushes away an arrow that is being shot at Breeze, and then pushes against the horseshoes and flies off back to Breeze, winking at him as he stares at her in shock. God damn it, Vin. Just show it off there. Before pulling onto one soldier who is still on horseback and kicking him off his mount. The archers regain their wits and begin to get stone-tipped arrows out, and Vin uses Duralumin to push all of the archers. The archers and horses are scattered by the blast while also sending her flying backwards. She downs her last metal vial and runs next to Breeze on his horse until they reach the city wall. The gates begin to open for Breeze, but Vin just pushes herself upwards and goes over the wall. So what did you think about the whole Vin fighting with Duralumin?
I already said my thoughts about what I think Duralumin's gonna do to her, where like she's gonna be, getting used to it too much, but yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna like fuck her over at some point.
Yeah, I agree with that. But she's definitely gonna get too used to it, and it's gonna have some form of a drawback that she's
Also,
not ready for.
I'm having flashbacks to something. I don't know if it's part of this book or something else, but were there ever like obsidian arrows involved?
Yes.
Like obsidian tipped arrows? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe the Lord Ruler's guards had some of those.
Okay.
There's been a lot of obsidian used for stuff because it's not a metal. I think the Inquisitors also have like obsidian axes.
Yeah. I was just thinking, why like rocks and not obsidian, or vice versa?
They're probably poorer, so they do stone instead of obsidian.
So, I have a question. It was never confirmed Vin's mother, right? Like, was it confirmed she was Ska?
I'm pretty sure it was confirmed she was Ska, yes.
Okay. I'm just curious. Because if having a child with a noble blood or whatever, right? A noble person is what creates Mistborns, or at least that's what we're told.
No, because pure nobles can be Mistborn too.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying like a Ska.
He means like in a Ska?
But as a noble, you can like you have to have the noble blood to become Mistborn.
Yes.
Like you can't have two Scars, can't have a Mistborn. Could it, in the same vein, then mean that like if two nobles have a child and that turns into a Mistborn, maybe they're stronger somehow?
Not as far as we know.
Okay, I mean, I feel like that could be a thing. I don't know.
As far as we know,
I've been
all
trying to figure out why
Mistborn
Vin is.
are pretty much created equal.
Yeah,
Although
I'm
Vin had
trying to figure out
the
why Vin's
idea
so
because of
strong.
her piercing copper clouds that maybe that isn't the case.
Yeah, well, I'm saying she seems stronger than most Mistborns.
Yeah. So
In
Vin
most
had a
aspects.
feeling that wasn't the case, but we have no proof that outside
Mhm.
of Vin that's the case. She hasn't really had a chance to test that with other Mistborn. Their sample size is 3. It's her, Kelsier, and Kelsier's teacher. All said that all are the only people we know of who have tried piercing copper clouds.
But I mean, she also knew that the Lord Ruler could do it.
That's true, but the Lord Ruler has a whole bunch of other stuff going on, so I'm not sure he's a good sample.
No, but I mean, like, she was strong, is what I'm saying. Like, so I'm just wondering. I'm just making the assumption that
Yeah.
maybe her mother wasn't actually a Ska. Maybe she chose to become like kind of like how Ska choose to like fake being noble. She chose the opposite. And she was actually noble
Oh,
blood
that's a good point.
some way.
It's possible, but as far as Vin, Reen, and the not the Inquisitor, and the Obligator that slept with Vin's mom were aware of, she was purely Ska.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. Okay, I'm just curious.
Because otherwise the Lord Ruler would have because otherwise the Obligator wouldn't have had to lie about sleeping with her and stuff, and he wouldn't have been so upset by it.
Well, I mean, but if she lied about it,
yeah,
then,
it's possible she kept it from him
Then he
and
would've
from her
not, yeah.
children.
Well,
right.
technically, she didn't keep it from her children, considering that. Well, anyway.
I mean, she died, so at least that's what we're the assumption is at the current moment.
I was still trying to look up pictures for you there. I can't find anything of this fight, unfortunately.
I mean, I could go look it up, but you wouldn't like that, so.
No. So Breeze thanks Vin for the rescue, saying that he appreciated the style she did it with. And Ellen, Clubs, and Orisar then come down as well. Breeze greets both the men and then reluctantly greets Ham when he comes through the courtyard. Ham teases Breeze that he is happy to see him, even if he won't admit it. Breeze then tells them that he is the reason Set is also trying to invade them, as he had spread the rumors of the ATM and had become one of Set's advisors, as he knew that Straff would march on Luthadel no matter what. He states that it will become a standoff between the two large armies and that it gives them some power and time. So do you think Breeze's plan will be good or bad for them?
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a mixed bag, in all honesty. It could be good, it could also be terrible, because you just brought two opposing forces.
Yeah.
You know, if they come to an agreement, like, that could be even worse for you.
Yeah, Breeze is obviously like betting on the fact that like neither of them will work with each other, which gives them the like more power because they have to because the other person's worried about the negotiations of if they pair with the other person. So Breeze also mentions how the water supply at the camp had been poisoned, which Spook snickers at and then speaks in his Eastern street slang when Breeze asks if he's still unintelligible. Just kind of teasing him because we know that he's perfectly able to speak normally now. So Breeze then asks when they'll bring him a carriage, as he's been soothing them for 5 minutes and been trying to look as pathetic and tired as possible. Breeze also explains that he and Set had a falling out, and Ham jokes that he caught Breeze sleeping with his daughter. Vin thinks that Breeze has never expressed any interest in romance for as long as she'd known him, and Doxson had once said that Breeze was too focused on himself to consider such things. So as Breeze explains his travels, Vin thinks about how she still needs to find a time to tell the group about Orisar's new body. She also thinks about how she can barely feel Breeze's touch on her emotions, and that she no longer found it intrusive, as it was just part of who Breeze was. So what do you think of this falling out that Breeze had with Set? What do you think it was?
I think it was a bad breakup. They're taking a break.
You think he was dating Set, not the daughter?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that would be pretty funny.
Maybe he found out that he was getting influenced with his little mystical powers.
You think like he noticed that Breeze was like trying to get him to do stuff?
Yeah.
He still ended up where Breeze wanted him.
That's true. Because Breeze is cool, but not a character I favor, but he's there.
I love Breeze. Breeze and Marsh and Sazed.
Well, Marsh is no longer Marsh. He's not Marsh, so.
Still love Marsh.
Anyway, he's the misting formerly known as Marsh.
Did you have any other thoughts, Mythic, on the Breeze and
really.
Set thing?
No, I think Breeze is awesome, and the fact that he could run away from these people without having any actual powers. It's pretty cool.
I love him just being like, I have been soothing you guys for 5 minutes. Where is my carriage?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look
Mhm.
pathetic.
Bro, I was laughing my ass off because every time they would like start talking in like between themselves, and then Breeze is just like sitting there or like standing there, and he's like, "Me, help me," you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I found it. I only laughed when Spook spoke up.
Spook is just snickering,
Mm.
poisoning the water supply.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then he snickers and he says something in his Eastern Street slang
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
whatever.
just a taunt Breeze.
And Breeze is like, "You still make more sense than what the fuck?
Ham, yeah.
Ham,
Yeah.
Ham. That's it. Yeah. Funny.
I love the relationship between Breeze and Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Their little love-hate relationship.
Something like that.
Oh no.
What?
Did you know that? Did you know they're making a Mistborn game?
I do. They're also going to be making, very likely a Mistborn movie.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that, but I just got from one of my contacts. I just got a thing. I told them not to give me spoilers, but that's not a spoiler to be honest.
Yeah.
Just to know that they're making a game.
Yeah,
That's
no,
pretty
we know that Brandon Sanderson is in talks with Hollywood. I think he said they're already filming.
Oh, okay.
I think actually we got confirmed that it was Mistborn because for a while he was vague, but I think they already have on
He was what?
IMDb or something that there's going to be a Mistborn movie.
Wait, he was what?
In talks with Hollywood.
Oh, but you said he was something. I don't know. You said a word. It started with a V, but I couldn't.
Bear with it.
Couldn't
Oh, he was
understand
vague
you.
about it.
He was what?
Vague.
Vag?
Vague.
Mhm. Okay.
But yeah, if you go to Mistborn: The File Empire on IMDb, it says in development, which is
It was vague, yeah.
exciting.
Do they have a trailer yet?
No, I think it's like very early stages still.
They should work on their producing team.
You should. You're so good at this.
He'll write the scripts late and all. Not
All right.
I'm just waiting for the Lord Lich to come back. So
the Lord what?
Lich, he has his phylactery. That when they killed him, his soul goes back to that and then reborn. Yeah. Sorry, D&D humor.
The group then mentions the Wolfhound, and Ellen says he got it for Vin as a present. Apparently, Orister's body, I can't speak, stands at 3 feet tall when on all fours. So he's like fucking gigantic. They then get in carriages to go back to the palace. On the carriage ride back, Ellen asks, why can't I speak today? On the carriage ride back, Ellen again pushes the fact that Orister will not break his contract and be able to help Vin. Orister speaks on how the contract is the Kandra and that he will always do everything in his power to fulfill it. So do you think Ellen is right that Orister will never betray Vin because of the contract?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they're doubting him too much. They should definitely put all their trust in him.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Nothing could go wrong there.
So once back at Keep Venture, a guard comes up to Ellen asking to receive their messenger about a body in Vin's room. The body was the old body of Orister, which Vin had apparently put in a basket to be dealt with later. And Ellen tells Captain Demo that it is all right, and Vin wonders what Demo thinks of her. However, Demo then mentions that there is a second skeleton. They go to the second set of bones, and Orister mentions that the dogs had likely found them due to the unique bile scent that is left behind by a Kandra when they dispose of bones. Orister and Vin sniff the bones, finding the scent strong, which means that these are recently discarded. They discuss that it could be a maid or servant, but also, considering the acting skills of a Kandra, it may very well be one of the crew members that had been eaten and replaced. So what do you think about there being a second Kandra?
I think it's that chick that she pointed out the first time.
I think it's the Terrace woman?
No, well, I think the bones are the Terrace woman.
But then,
So you think they came into Luthadel as this Terrace woman and now they're someone else?
Yep. I mean, at first I thought it was Breeze, okay, but it doesn't make sense. I can't.
The bones wouldn't have been in the castle though, because he just.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense because of the time frame. But
Breeze is the least likely at this point.
Exactly. But I mean, the only reason I thought it could be Breeze is because like they've made the comment that Kandra are very good at portraying portraying their things. And he states, "Oh, I've been soothing you this whole time, yet nobody seemed to make a comment that he's been soothing them." Like they didn't state, "Oh yeah, we're using the cloud" or anything like that. They were just like nonchalant about it almost. So I was like, "Oh, it could be Breeze," because I don't think Kandras could fake powers. So Like, I mean, that'd be pretty cool if they could. But so like maybe that's why Breeze isn't actually soothing them, um, and he's going to be a inside informant. I mean, that's still a possibility to me. But
Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Vince said that she noticed that Breeze was soothing.
oh, did she? I thought he
Yeah.
said. I thought he said it, and she said you need to get better, pretty much.
I think
No.
Like
she
she thought
jokes
it
that you
such.
should do it better because he says no one's gotten him a carriage yet.
Didn't
Yeah.
didn't no, but didn't you say that she noticed that he was soothing her and that it's part of his personality now,
Yeah,
like
I
it's
think
him.
she
So
did. I'm just double checking that I'm.
personally, right now, I'm thinking it's Spook, but
Who couldn't do such a thing, even as a conjurer?
I think it's Spook.
Trying to see now. So you think it's Spook?
Yeah.
I don't think the one that's set those bones in there is Breeze, but I'm just saying it could be a possibility that Breeze is a conjurer as well. But, I mean, I could just have missed something listening to it.
No, it does say she could barely feel his fingers on her emotions. So I think
Mm,
she is saying that
okay.
she can just barely feel him soothing her there. So I think it is implied
That he's still able to
that
use
he
his
is using his
powers.
power. Yeah.
I mean, it could also be a farce like the other guy, but yeah, like the other Mistborn that was fighting among the. Yeah, okay. Less likely, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any top suspects then, or are you still kind of lean towards Breeze?
My only other top suspect would have been the guy who spoke up in the meeting. Can't remember what his name was.
Lord Penrod?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was about to say, but he had a really great name. Yeah, that's the only one that I could think of that would be like in the group of people that would be close enough. That could be possibly different. But I want to put it out of my mind that it's one of the band of Kelsier's people,
Mm-hmm.
because that would mean that they'd have to be dead, and I don't want that happening.
Yeah,
I
you
think
didn't
it's
think he
either
was gonna kill off anyone who's like part of the main group. That was your kind of
Not
theory.
not early. Like I feel like they might die late in the books, but I don't think they're gonna die like quickly. I mean, Kelsier's death made sense. I feel like if one of these people just died and then were taken over by taking their place as a conjurer, like I just feel like that'd be a very weak way to take away a character. It's just my opinion, though.
where's Doxin right now?
Doxson is not there. I think Vin notes that as like she still hasn't seen Doxson yet, since these bones were potentially discarded.
Okay, so that's a possibility. I was thinking Spook.
I think she says it could be pretty much anyone but Ellen, because Ellen was with her the whole time that day.
Well,
Or actually, did she say that Ellen met her at the wall?
no. First off, they don't even tell you the amount of time those bones have been there.
They say it's likely been a few hours.
No, they straight up said they couldn't tell, and Ellen was like, "Could it be my father's conjurer that left them there?" Like, I think they have a assumption that they might not have been there that long, but
But
I
then
don't
they
think they ever.
sniffed them and they were like, no, these are
Yeah,
definitely
they're
recent.
recent. Yeah,
But okay,
it
because
literally says
they
that.
they stated I don't know. Maybe it did. Maybe I missed it in the listening of my
Yeah, because
fucking
Vin literally thinks it would be someone that we haven't seen during the last few hours.
few hours.
Well, to
Yeah.
be fair, we're gonna
Well,
And she says
probably.
Ellen, and Oriser had been on the wall for most of the afternoon and evening,
mm-hmm.
ever since the assembly meeting. And then I think she
Who
goes
else
into
was
like
that?
she hasn't really everyone else she's met since then.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What if it's
I
that
guess
dude?
I must have missed it.
What if it's that dude? What's his name? The fucking
Penrod?
the dude with the uniform, the one that pointed out the bones in the
Oh,
first
Demo?
place. Yeah,
Oh,
Could be.
I think yeah, maybe it took him over immediately after.
those are like my top three.
I mean, I feel like if it did though, that'd be really stupid of you to like basically put. Maybe not
Would
actually.
it though? Because like
Yeah,
they would be looking elsewhere.
yeah, they're not looking at him. They'd be looking at they'd be looking at higher ups. Of yeah, I could see it. I could see it. That would be interesting because like who else goes in that room?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd have to. I feel like it'd have to be a servant at first, and then like they'd switch again and again, until they got up to a higher thing. Because I don't know, it's weird to me.
Mm.
That's so many fucking bodies though.
Just in the room. Yeah, I know. Hide them better.
Well, they said that they were hidden really well. They wouldn't have found them unless they had those dogs going.
Woof, woof.
Mm-hmm. So then we're on part 2 called Ghosts in the Mist, and the epigraph for chapter 12 is it wasn't until years later that I became convinced that Alendi was the hero of ages. Hero of ages, the one called Rabzine in Kalenium, the
Mhm.
anim- Anamnesor savior. So, based on this information, do you think Kalenium also has prophecies about the hero of ages, since they also had a word for it?
Probably.
Because they keep going on and on about how these are the Terrace prophecies, but then they say that there's a word for it in Kalenium.
I
I
mean,
was just
yeah,
thinking,
I said yes. I think that they have their own thought in the prophecy, but
Mhm.
I was just thinking maybe it's less of like a prophecy sort of like name for the subject and like a general title.
Hmm. So we have Say's point of view for this chapter as he and Marsh approach the conventicle of Saran. It was built inside a crater-like depression in the ground that made it hard to see from far away. There are no roads or signs leading to it, and the sheer cliff sides make it difficult to enter. Say's used a tin metal mind to look down at the conventicle and notes that he can't see any movement or light, but is not sure if there are inquisitors inside. Marsh seems confident that there are not, but can't say why. He notes that they went north to Luthadel among other places, and that they should make use of this opportunity. So, how do you think Marsh knows that there are no other Inquisitors inside?
He can sense his brethren.
I
No,
mean,
legit.
yeah, I kind of agree with that. You can probably sense them somehow.
Hmm,
They have a connection or something.
I see.
Their spikes tingle.
Get like spidey senses, but they're spike senses. So Marsh then goes over to a pulley elevator and crashes the cage to the ground before using the counterweight rope to shimmy down to the floor. Say switches his copper mines for steel and pewter metal mines, as well as a tin and copper ring. He hides his keeper copper mines nearby in case that there were inquisitors inside, as he doesn't want them having the copper mines. Saysen thinks about how, in order to store the information of the keepers in his copper mines, he had to listen to another keeper recite all the knowledge, and he would memorize each sentence and put it into the copper mine. So, what do you think about how you learn things to put inside your copper mines?
What makes sense if they can't use each other's, But it's weird because can they?
No, they can't use each other's metal mines.
Yeah.
Hence why they don't want them to die, because then that knowledge is gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
That seems a little. I don't know. I feel like that's even with like the power of the copper mines, that's way too inefficient.
So Saysen throws his pack down to Marsh, who pulls it to him. Sayce thinks about how Marsh doesn't speak on how he gained the powers of a Mistborn or how he lives with the spikes in his body. Sayce then uses an Iron Man to decrease his weight, causing himself to slowly fall to the ground. So how do you think Inquisitors get Mistborn powers?
Well, I've stated this quite a few times now. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they're actually Mistborn powers. I think they're kind of like the fucking metal mines and
Arakami?
shit. Yeah, fair coming. But like a complete, like it's gonna be a third type of shit,
Mm.
basically, where it's
That's
like I
fair.
don't know, chakras or some shit.
Chakras.
Like oh, I mean, like the
I mean, the way
pressure
they're
point
located.
pressure points in your body. Yeah, like I feel like there's a list of like I feel like there's probably more than what's already in these people, but that's the amount that they can harness. So like you could might be able to find um inquisitors with like different spike placement.
Mm.
And the only reason that these all were like the same is because the Lord Ruler was like, "This is the best one."
This is
In
the
my
ideal
opinion, it's the best.
combination.
Yeah, and like so, he combined them all. Like if I don't know, it's the way I feel like it is like it's you put metal in a body in these specific spots in the specific way, and then like it unlocks a power.
Mm.
Um, the other idea I had was that it's the type of metal might not be what they think it is, and it's like going to be some kind of metal that gives allomancy. But
Mm.
I actually have that listed on, I think. But yeah,
Yeah. So once they're both on the ground, Marsh gives Sazed his pack back, and they go up to the doors. Marsh and Sazed, using a pewter mind, push the door slowly open. Inside is complete darkness, and Sazed explains to Marsh that he needs at least a little light to be able to see, even as a ferrochemist. Marsh
which
nods.
is insane.
Yeah. So Marsh nods and goes inside. Goes inside by himself to get a lantern. Once they have a lit lantern, the two head into the conventicle. Sayce begins to record into his coppermind ring what the inside looks like. Marsh doesn't seem to think that things about the Inquisitors are worth remembering, but Sayce does it anyway. He notes how every surface has iron on it, and that iron plates on the walls have some carvings in them. So what do you think about the inside of the conventicle? Everything's just coated in metal.
Because metal can't be whatever the fuck that motherfucking first thing was. I write this on
Anything
metal.
written in metal, anything not written in metal can't be trusted.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So There's
I
all
think
this
it's
metal.
more. I think it's more to allow them to see better.
The Inquisitors?
Yeah,
Uh,
because they see with the little blue stuff, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Hmm.
wouldn't if you put metal, like if you put all metal there, wouldn't that like blind them?
It depends. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel
We
like
don't
if
know
you're
how it
looking,
works.
yeah, if you're looking through metal, then like I feel like it would be like putting a sheet in front of their eyes.
I think it is like supposed to be assumed that it is, as Darkness said, that it's mainly about their sight, and that's why there's like kind of like artistic drawings in some of the metal plates, because like they can't see anything that's not metal.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, but
I
uh,
I was just thinking. Is there a limit to how little a talisman can weigh if they know origami?
I'm not sure.
Cause I'm just saying, like he can like blow away with the wind if he wants.
I think he could probably just blow away with the wind. He could just become a kite.
yeah, the fact that this man could probably fly is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
Oh.
So they then find where the servants were, a room with only one exit. The bodies of the servants are piled high in the back corner of the room. Marston says he's going to go upstairs, and for Sayes not to follow him as he does not wish to be with Sayes when he sees Inquisitor atrocities.
Hmm.
So why do you think Marsh doesn't want to be with Sayes when he sees like what the Inquisitors have done?
maybe
Shady
he doesn't.
motherfucker.
Maybe it's like really, really bad, and like he doesn't want Sace to think otherwise of like him,
Hmm.
Oh no,
because
I feel like he's shady as fuck.
You think he's
he
just
doesn't want
saying
his.
that to be alone, Mythic?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You
Something's
don't
taken
trust
over him.
Marsh?
Nope, not since he became a Steel Inquisitor.
I don't trust Marsh or Sace anymore.
I trust Sace. I think Sace is
I've
I don't
gonna
think
never
Darkness has
trusted
ever
Sace.
trust Sayes.
No, I know. I think Sace is gonna be the like key to winning this entire thing.
Hmm.
I think Sace is gonna be the key and the betrayer.
I definitely think like it's gonna come down to something, and Sace is gonna have to make like a choice, like to give up his life or something to stop like the whatever the fucking bad shit is that's coming.
Hmm.
Because I know these armies are just nothing in comparison to what's probably coming.
So
Hell, we have a
Sayes
whole nother book.
So Saysen begins to head towards the stairs that lead farther into the ground. He notes as he walks that the rooms have no doorways and are mostly empty, besides some having large metal blocks. Once downstairs, he finds a room with metal tables covered in dried blood. The only other thing in the room were spikes, some with bloody tips. He notes that some of the spikes look like the ones in Marsh's eyes, and some are made of different metals. So yeah, what do you think this conventicle was used for? Like, first of all, the whole thing, and second of all, I guess this room specifically.
It was the. Uh, I just yeah maybe like I think that whole place has to do with the creation of like
The creation of what,
uh
sorry?
the I forgot their names. I'm blanking.
Inquisitors?
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe.
What about you, Mythic? What do you think?
I didn't really have much thought on it until just now when Techno said that. So.
I was thinking like
Hmm.
I ever since I learned that like how the spikes sort of work, I was just thinking like what if they're all different metals and stuff? Like that's like literally stuck to me so like
Like
for so long.
ferrochemy, like that, like
Yeah.
they're tapping into ferrochemy. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. That's why I still think it's something different. But
Also,
then
I was
behold,
wondering, do you think they don't just have like metals like poking outside their body, but also within their body?
What do you mean?
Like replacing bones with metal, aka like Wolverine type of shit, which I brought up before, but
yeah, I mean that'd be a cool idea. But the only problem I find with that would be that when you remove the one spike and everything else goes, it doesn't really fit with if they're like all
it,
their metal
it
bones are
can't.
metal.
In my opinion, it can't because like I feel like if you like you do the like spine, let's say, and like
Mm-hmm.
you do that as metal, like the spikes protruding outside kind of hold that in place. Like the surgery we have now, like nowadays with the sort of bolts.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it would make sense, I guess, if you see it that way. Yeah.
So at the back of the room, with all of the metal tables and spikes, there is a cut directly into the stone and a small stone stairwell heading down. The stairs end abruptly in a small room with a large steel plate 5 feet by 5 feet and bore writing in an old dialect of Terrace. So why do you think that the like stairwell and room aren't coated in metal like all the other rooms in the conventicle?
Like it's not coated in metal, but the metal like plate is there, right?
It's at the back, yeah, but like even the staircase that says goes down originally has like metal steps, and like all the walls are metal. Like this place, like it's all stone with just the metal slab at the end.
Maybe it's like a shrine type of thing, like the well, what I assumed, I don't remember. The journal had, like
You think they
that
specifically
sort of.
like didn't alter it because like they worship it or something, or like it has
It's
meaning to
it's
them?
it's more like a guardings type of shit, like they did with the journal.
Mm.
Am I-
What do you think,
Maybe.
Mythic?
I honestly don't know.
Right. So
Can't think of anything right now, but.
the text is the epigraphs that we have been reading, which Sage is able to read a little of
Mhm.
before Marsh suddenly appears. Marsh says that the Inquisitors took anything of use and the journey had been a waste. He states that they should not have come and that they need to leave quickly. So Sage decides to do a rubbing of the text instead of dictating it to himself. Sage feels like he now has a reason to go back to Luthadel, where he can work on this and send news north to Terrace, although this makes him feel even more guilty. So why do you think Marsh was in such a hurry to leave all of a sudden?
He found something, and possibly I feel like it's tied to where the other Inquisitors are.
I agree. Yeah.
Sace hasn't talked to Vin at all in a while, right?
No, he's been off traveling. I don't know if he's ever sent her like letters potentially, but he's definitely not been to
I
Luthadel in a while.
hold on.
Hmm?
Oh, sorry, I sneezed. I was just thinking. I hope Vin has one of her little smart moments and gives Sace like the medals she's acquired to try out. Cause I swear, I want to know what they do in Ferrochem.
Hmm. So like what the 11th metal and duralumin and like aluminum and
Yeah.
stuff do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What Trum and Durlumin do? Yeah.
So those were our chapters. Our overview questions are: were you surprised that we found the epigraph text already?
Yeah, I was like, this shit was quick as fuck. I didn't expect it. I thought it was gonna be like 3/4 of the book in.
I mean, we did find the journal, I think,
So
It
early,
was
but not
almost
like
halfway.
super early. It was like halfway through, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
it just makes me happy because I had the theory. Well, I didn't have the theory, but I had the thought because the person that reads the Audible is. It sounds like they're doing it in Saze's voice
Yeah.
every time they do that. So I'm like, oh, Saze is reading this to me. And if he changes his voice in the next book, I swear to God, you're like, damn it, Saze is dead.
No, the next book is gonna be Sace writing it in steel.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if it was his epigraphs. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I asked you guys a question back in the first book of like, oh, do you ever think we'll get like Quan's point of view on things? And then like the
Is
whole
this
epic.
Quan?
This
Is
is
this Quan?
Quan. Yeah, the
Yeah,
whole
okay, this is
epigraph thing
Quan.
is Quan.
Yeah.
Who is Quan again?
The announcer, the man who found the hero of ages.
Oh my god, one of the metals has to be a seer metal. That's my theory. Like the
I
like
mean,
the
I have one that I think is a seer metal.
Oh.
but like in Ferrochem,
Uh,
I mean.
in, in Ferrochemy. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't made my Ferrochemy list because
At this point, I'm more interested in Ferrochem than Alamancy.
yeah, I'm more interested in what these the Steel Inquisitors because I want to know if it's actually Allomancy and like a different version of it, or if it's like Ferrochemy and like that's why their metal is stuck in their body.
I've always said that out of all of Brandon's magic systems, for like real life, daily life, I feel like I'd want fair chemi. It feels like it would be the most useful.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be like, oh, they can only use one type of metal, right?
Not that we've seen, no. You're pretty much a fair chemist or you're not a fair chemist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like everybody's a
So you can use every
Mistborn.
metal. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Pretty
like
cool.
you can like imagine like storing like using copper mines for like tests and like you can like store wakefulness. So
Well,
if you need to like
first off, I think if Ferrochemy actually existed, that would be cheating.
Yeah, but
Like
like,
who would ever have to study ever again?
but then would it really be cheating? Because it would be normal.
Only if everybody's a ferrochemist. If only
some
Midnight's a
people are.
ferrochemist. Yeah,
That's
that's a
like,
little cheap.
Only I'm a ferrochemist, no one knows I'm a ferrochemist.
Okay, when I say only like one version, I'm not saying like only you. Like a select amount of you. Like it's rare. It's not like it's a fucking everybody's got ferrochemy. Because if everybody has ferrochemy, then yeah, of course they're gonna.
They run a metal
change up
detector over you every time before you come into a test. So my next overview question was, do you think Oriser and Vin's relationship will improve? Because already, like, Vin's kind of, like, we get like little hints of like, oh, Vin feels guilty, and Orisa's like, oh, she's kind of like, oh, Orisa has never been like this nice to actually like bring me something without me asking.
I mean, I feel like it shouldn't improve because she's a dick and she treats him like fucking shit. But
What if she
Yeah.
starts treating him better?
no, she can't. You can't right the wrongs you've already done.
I hope they improve their relationship, and in the end, he betrays her.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree that I feel like that's warranted. That should happen.
Honestly,
So as bad as she's been treating him, yeah, 100%.
And my last question is, what do you think is going to happen now that there are 2 armies outside Luthadel?
They're gonna get slaughtered by a different army that comes in, and fucking doesn't give a shit about camps and shit like that. They're just gonna walk in and be like, "All right, y'all dead, kill them all," and then try to take the city. And then Finn's gonna have to try to save them and all that shit. Yeah,
they're gonna get taken out by the Kakaraks.
yeah, the Kakarats. Yeah, Kakarot. They're gonna be taken out by Broly.
Oh my god.
So yeah, do you guys have any new thoughts or theories about where the book's going, or anything else you wanted to discuss with these chapters?
Yep, it's going into godhood. We're gonna see lots of gods and goddesses, and nobody is ever gonna be human again. Also, I want Spooks to become a Mistborn.
Every
don't know
time I read
how, but
every time I read Proposal when it came to Ellen, I was like, is she gonna
is he gonna propose?
Yeah.
It's already proposed, apparently.
I know he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's being a little dodgy bitch.
Honestly, it's so fucking annoying. Like,
I mean,
girl, like you really
Finn
think he's
is
gonna
annoying.
live that long?
Finn is-
Having 2 arms outside?
Been super fucking annoying.
I would have been in my honeymoon week by then.
So next episode, we'll be reading chapters 13 through 17. I believe that's 5 chapters. So yeah, look forward to that.
Are you gonna actually pin it this time? Or?
I pinned it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Because you know Darkness will forget. So
I know he will. So yeah, thank you to everyone who is listening. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
and get in the comments.
Bye.